What is up, everybody? Bryce here from Whitmix Corporation. Today we planning for dental applications with Bellus3D. Evan's going to basically be covering most of the material today. He's kind of our Bellus3D guru, if you will. And we're just going to show you some of the practical applications and some of the topics surrounding Bellus3D. Like I said, my name is Bryce. I'm a technical specialist here at Whitmix, and Evan Kemper, the other incredibly handsome gentleman that you see on your screen, he's our applications engineer. So we're super excited that everybody was able to join us today. And I do want to note that this is being recorded and will be available on our website for free at the same link where you signed up. So this will be recorded. Feel free to go back and watch it anytime. And if you have anybody else in your laboratory or practice that might be interested, we would really appreciate them watching as well. So without further ado, I'm going to turn this over to Evan and let him kind of dive into Bellus3D.
All right. Yeah. So today we're going to be talking about Bellus3D, specifically their Dental Pro app, which is their face scanning technology specifically targeted for dental applications, and how it is integrated into 3Shape. We'll talk also a little bit about the hardware that's needed, just so you can get an idea of that, and then a little bit on the pricing and the annual fee. So if anybody hasn't checked it out before, you can go to bellus3d.com/dental, and that'll take you to their Dental Pro page, where you can see just some screenshots, a little bit of a blurb kind of about what it does, and then what some of the applications are in 3Shape. So the way that Bellus works, and this will be kind of the first step in the hardware that you need, is it is an iOS app, so it'll run on iPhone or iPad. Now you do have to have some of the later generation hardware. This won't run on old iPads and iPhones. So minimally, you'll need an iPhone X or later, and or an iPad Pro with the face scanning. So basically the one without the home button. If we go to Apple's website, then what you're looking for is that it has the Face ID sensor, which is the true depth camera. You have to have that. That's how it creates the 3D image. So if you have older phones before the 10 or older iPad Pros, they will not work with this. We already did have a question come in. Do I use this app in Windows 10? So no, the app runs on an Apple iPhone or iPad. At one point, they had a Windows Dental Pro app that required a different scanner from them that you bought, but I was actually on their page earlier today and I didn't see that listed anymore. So I think for right now, it's basically the acquisition hardware is going to be the iPad or iPhone. It's a little easier to do some of the alignment stuff on an iPad because the screen's bigger, but a lot of people already have iPhones, and I know Bellus gets the question a lot, does it work on Android? And the question is no. And the main reason for that is because Apple controls hardware and software design. It's a much more uniform, less fragmented development environment. So they have less variables they have to try and control. Whereas with Android, just being a software that's put on a lot of third-party handsets, there's a whole lot more fragmentation and not as much uniform hardware design across all the handsets. So, if at some point, if like Google came out with every handset that runs Android has to have face scanning technology, then it becomes a little bit more realistic that they might look at an Android app. Yep. But for right now, it's
there is also a PC version that's coming out down the road, right? Is that
yes.
Was I correct in hearing that?
Yeah, I think that. So, and again, their face scanning technology has been around on iPhone outside of just the dental side. They have just the regular Bellus face scanning app, which is free for you to download, and you can scan your face, and then I think there's a per export fee or something, like 99 cents or something like that. But that doesn't have any of the dental alignment software.
Okay.
So Yeah, like right now today, it's iOS only, but PC version coming. I think they're just probably making some updates and tweaks to what they already had. Um, Probably some uh, just general workflow improvements. They also do have a new camera system coming out, and I think it's called the Arc. Yeah, and so it's basically a camera array that'll do all the different images at once, so you don't have to worry about moving your head. And of course, this would be a PC
That's pretty awesome.
attachment.
So I wonder how
So,
many individual cameras there are on this.
I think on the Arc there's
So it looks like there's the Arc 1, the Arc 4,
5.
and the Arc
Yeah,
7.
yeah.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, if you're gonna, right now, what I would do if you don't have any of these, the Apple products, and what we've done here is we bought an iPad Pro with I think this is the 10-inch model that has the face scanning technology. Yeah, so we got the 11-inch one. Um, and I think if you get this with the just 128 gig capacity, it comes in right around, I got ours with cellular just, for being at trade shows, but right around 800. So it's not, going to break the bank or anything. But then the next thing we got, because lighting is really key to getting a good scan, we got one of these ring lights on Amazon, and you can probably kind of see it behind me there. But basically the iPad will sit in the center, and I'm gonna go
It's got
just
a
set
mount.
this in there so you can kind of see what, and this puts it, at a standing height, and where the patient or you don't have to hold it. And then this will, if I turn the ring light on, I have variable light control around it to really illuminate the face and remove any shadows.
Yep. Now there's various brands for those lights. The one he has pulled up is a pretty well-known lighting company. It's like Newer. There's also Social Light. That's the one that Evan is using, is the Social Light.
Hmm.
So there's various brands. The nice thing is they're not that expensive. The lights aren't. I mean, it's really
Yeah.
just. I mean, it's just really just a ring-shaped LED light.
Yep. And the
Always a
only
stand.
thing,
So
the one that we got, it didn't come with a clamp that could hold the iPad in portrait mode. So we did have to order an extra one of those. I think it was $15.
hmm Yep.
And so if you have one of the nice thing about this is, again, it takes it hands free except for touching the initial start scanning button, which means, if you don't want, patient, especially, given what's going on now, patients touching all over your personal iPhone, then this, and the touch screens are reactive with a glove on, so they could, glove up and then you just hit the start. And then because it's being held, all they got to do is turn their head as it tells them to. But again, you don't have to have this stuff. It just kind of adds to the experience. And again, if you already have an iPhone 10 or later, then you can just use it.
Yeah.
But as far as actually acquiring the scan, if you're not going to have it on a stand, it's easier if the person who's being scanned is actually holding the device. So again, you may not want to have, your personal phone going through every patient's hands that comes through your clinic or lab.
So Evan, so before we actually dive into the software itself,
Mhm.
can you go over the different applications for the software, because there may be some people in the audience that honestly don't even know what this is used for.
Yep.
They've maybe heard about it. They've heard of this cool new Bellus 3D face scanning thing. So what are some of the practical dental applications? Is this pretty much strictly a marketing tool, or are there actual practical uses for it other outside of marketing?
Yeah, so I mean, a big function of it is that kind of the case marketing side, selling a case, like especially if it's a big aesthetic case, that may have a large price tag that is a little harder to swallow without being able to kind of visualize it.
Yeah.
So probably one of the best benefits is you can scan their face, um, send that off to the lab. They can actually import it into 3Shape and use it as an aesthetic reference. while they're designing, send back the proposed case, and you can pull that up in the app and show the patient, and they can see three-dimensionally the potential for what the prosthetic or restorations can look like. It can also be used to get some of the anatomic features you'd be capturing with like a face bow to help with aligning the actual virtual articulator, which you'd probably be using to some extent on these larger cases. And then again, just aside from that, the aesthetic references of the face as you're going through a design on the lab side, it's better than just a 2D picture. You've got a full three-dimensional. And if you've used 3Shape, 3Shape's had that real view engine for quite a number of years now, which was the 2D picture overlay where you could cut out the lip or the teeth and then have that overlaid. Well, this is like the next, best thing, and it's the whole
Next
face
generation.
as it would be,
So I mean that's really a pretty big deal. I mean, because for so long to get that kind of information, especially if you're a laboratory, the patient has to come to you. But in a world that's as global as ours, I mean, that's kind of invaluable. I mean nowadays the lab industry has really changed where, maybe 30 years ago, a lab's client base was really for the most part geographic. They've got a little territory and those are the people they service. But nowadays with all this technology, that's really changed. So I think there's definitely a lot of value in being able to really have the patient in your lab without having the patient in your lab. I mean, that's pretty. And I hate to call it a marketing tool because that makes it sound like salesy. It's really not. It's really not about sales. It's about, I mean, I try to put myself in the patient's shoes. So imagine, if you're coming into an office and you're looking at a full mouth rehabilitation, let's say you're looking at doing, an upper and lower fixed hybrid. I mean, I would imagine that just about any patient's is gonna have probably a significant amount of anxiety and trepidation when it comes to how it's going to look. Well, how do I know that they're going to pick something that I like, or how do I know they're going to pick something that looks good with my face? So I mean, that's, it's not, again, it's not as much like a marketing tool, but it's almost like a reassurance. It's just a way to really put your patient's mind at ease. So I think that's really awesome.
Yeah. And that is, as far as, patient peace of mind, this can also the face scans and the alignment of the restored arches can also be shared where they can pull it up in a browser. And so you can show it, like to friends and family, outside.
Yep.
And we did have some questions about whether we're going to show this. Yes, we're going to show it integrated with a case on 3Shape and live scanning as well on myself.
Yep.
Now, obviously, I had to fake a scan that needs a restoration on it because I don't have any missing teeth. But
hey, Evan, here's one question for you, and I don't know if you know this or not. I know I don't. How when we start to talk about accuracy of these scans, when we're talking about, like, if we're talking about like a 3Shape scanner, like an E3 scanner, that's an easy question to answer because we have that information from 3Shape, who manufactured the scanner, that this scanner is going to be within 5 microns, 5 micron accuracy, 7 micron accuracy, whatever. With Bellus, we're talking about maybe a different range of camera options because you can choose different devices. So is accuracy even a factor here, really, or is it more about the resolution quality of the scan itself?
yeah, I would say the accuracy I don't think is like on the same kind of concern that we have with 3Shape scanners where when you're doing crown and bridge, you're not building anything directly on this scan. And I would say it's probably in the 100 to 200 micron range or something, kind of like cone beams and that kind of stuff. I'd actually have to check with Bellus to get an exact number. And I don't even know that the face scanning camera actually, if they measure anything like that. Because again, we're talking about just capturing the surface of the face, not
Right.
having to have a sealed margin to prevent
Right.
decay
Right.
and that kind of stuff.
I know it
Um,
probably terrifies anybody in the dental industry to hear this, but I don't know that accuracy is going to be a factor here. And I know that sounds, I know everybody's going to have like a knee jerk, like, whoa, what do you mean accuracy doesn't matter? But like Evan, like Evan just said, we're looking at contour of the face, and we're looking at,
yeah.
um, I think we're going to be more concerned with resolution in this case rather than actual accuracy.
Yeah. We did have a question come in about HIPAA compliance and how the data is stored.
Mm,
So the data is output in either STL, OBJ, or PLY, but there's no identifying information with it unless you put it there in the file name. And the recommendation from Bellus and 3Shape is when you export these scans, don't change the name of them. It just says like head one,
yeah.
and put once you get it wherever it needs to go. If you need to identify it, put it in a folder with some kind of identifying information.
Yeah,
Um,
so if it's an office sending it to a lab, you can use, so Dropbox is HIPAA compliant, so they can maybe just set up a Dropbox folder with the patient's name and then just drag
yep,
those scans that aren't named into it. Probably be a good way to do it.
yep. So now I've got a screen share up of my iPad. Let me just minimize some things real quick. Okay. So we did have another comment come in about worrying about if the accuracy is not within a certain trueness to what the actual dimension of the patient's head is. Again, it's not that, inaccuracy. I don't have an exact number, but it's going to be way more accurate than a 2D picture reference
Yep.
or, and even again, they have a cone beam alignment function where you're aligning to 200 to 300 micron slices usually for a cone
Mhm.
beam. So it's within that accuracy range. So well within what we need just for, a visual reference.
Yep.
All right, so we're going to go into how to do a scan. So you can see I actually have both the Dental Pro and the regular Bellus app here. Um, and that actually brings me to one other thing that, at least in this time, of need, another feature that Bellus has introduced, and this is completely free functionality through either the regular Bellus app, or, if you already have Dental Pro, it doesn't cost anything extra to be able to do it. But they have a mask fitter that basically, and I'll show you that too after I do my scan, will generate a 3D printable, basically like a band that comes around the mouth and nose, and will help seal the non N95 masks tighter against the face. And that again is completely free, unless if you have a printer, you can get the STL for free. If you don't have a printer, you can send it to some outsourcing centers, and then whatever that cost that's associated with that, that's all you would incur.
So all they need to do is download the app to get to access that free feature.
Yeah, they just need to have the required hardware, iPhone 10 or later, or iPad Pro with the real ID. And then if you don't already have a Dental Pro subscription, then you would just get the regular Bellus app. But if you have Dental Pro, then that will be in the app. So I'm going to go ahead and open Dental Pro. You can see some of the stuff that I've already been doing on here. So I can scroll through workplaces. These are some of my old ones, and then or just face models. And again, you can see there's no identifying information unless I put it in there, like my initials. But the actual ID that is stored in the software, like on this Byte one, is FKMNEC876. So not a problem there. So if I go back to the home, this is the landing page where you could either come in and look at your models or just start a new scan. If I click the gear, this is where I would have my, email or account that it's set up to. Also, we can directly integrate with 3Shape Communicate. So this is my Communicate account that I've put in. And then the rest of it's just, so feedback and support, some tutorials, Is also the jaw library by Fabulous Smiles that you can bring those teeth in on the virtual patient.
Wow, I actually
And
didn't
then,
know about the fabulous
yeah, that's pretty
about the
new.
Fab Smiles
I
integration.
think that
That's
was in their last
awesome.
update.
Wow.
So, and then it just tells you about your service level. So just close that. So I'm going to start a new scan. I'm actually going to take this over to the ring light, but I am going to take my headset off for a second because could cause issues. And the other thing, if you wear glasses, you also want to take those off. Otherwise, if you're worried about nose anatomy, it can sometimes cause some issues on the bridge of the nose.
Mm. Yep.
So I'll turn this up a little bit. And we'll go to new scan. Okay, so I'll take my headset off here in a second. Basically what you can see is we have this little red circle. And so this is gonna help me gauge where I need to position my head. And so when it turns green, you've got a good positioning. And then I have the camera up at the top. That's what I'm gonna be looking at. And then it's actually gonna guide me through with voice prompts. The basic scan is just a face. We also have face and neck where it'll have me tilt my head up to capture some of my neck. And then they also have a full head scan. And so that I'll do left, right, and then up and then down. And then it'll approximate the back of my head, but you get a watertight model. So if you wanted to have something you could like take directly to a 3D printer, you could do that. But for what we're going to be doing with 3Shape, we don't need all the extra stuff. So I'm going to take this off for a second and then do the face scan.
I'll narrate.
And one other thing, so there's two options as far as the kind of scans that you're going to be importing. You want to smile like a wide smile because we are going to be using images of the teeth to align to the models. And then if that's not a natural smile for them, you could have more of like their natural resting lip, something like that, or whatever. But you minimally need a wide face scan or teeth scan, as they call it.
So one other thing really quickly, Evan.
Mm-hmm.
So females, if they've got long hair, or I guess anyone
Yeah.
that has long hair, should that be
That
pulled?
should be tied back. Yeah.
Tie it back. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, and keep it off the face.
Yep.
Also, if you're doing the mask fitter, you were going to want to shave if you have a beard. Now mine is not thick or
What?
long enough to cause an issue, but like Corey's or Bryce's, that will be then taken as the contour of the face, and it won't fit as tight there.
I'm out.
All right, so let's do this scan. So I'm going to take this off real quick.
Look at that Hollywood smile. So he's going to look to the left. He's going to look to the right. And then back to the center.
All right, so then it just processes the data. I don't know if everybody could hear those voice commands, but it's pretty simple. And then you just don't want them to do any of the movements too fast. So it had that little bar across the top. So you kind of go with that timing, and then you want to end with like your ear pointing at the camera.
So nice, slow but fluid movements.
Yeah, and so now you can see we have my face scan. I can rotate it around 3D model. Now what you will see if we kind of look at this from the side and zoom in, you can see there's some distortion around the teeth and also the eyes. And the reason for that is because of the translucency, the light, the infrared that basically this camera projects an infrared grid, and that's how it does the face scanning. Well, that, obviously is, travels through the teeth some, so that data is not, completely accurate. That's why they also take, let's see, where is it? Photos. So they take these two-dimensional photos at different intervals. I think they take over like 50 of them, but they just keep 7. That will help me do the alignment to my actual models. And those can be exported as well. So were you gonna say something, Bryce?
Yeah, I just had a quick question. So your background, what's behind you? Does that need to be a concern at all? Are there any, have you ever seen any issues with Bellus maybe confusing something in the background for, or I guess since it's infrared, that probably wouldn't really be an issue, would it?
Yeah, because they're probably only capturing within like a certain depth of the
Yeah,
camera.
okay.
That's what they
Okay.
have you stand at that certain distance. Um, I haven't seen any specific issues, but then again, I haven't had any like really um, like complex backgrounds like right behind me. Usually,
Hmm.
it's either there's a bunch of stuff in the office way back there, or I'm standing against a single color wall.
Okay. Okay.
Um, so I think lighting is probably the biggest concern outside of just having the correct hardware.
Yep.
Um, so I had mentioned the mask fitter. You can see over here on the right side, if I click mask fitter, then it brings up this little page telling kind of what it's used for. Um, and I'm just going to click next. And so they've actually updated this. I haven't come in here for a second, but it looks like they have the basic one, which is free and just has the 4 T hooks. They have a standard. Let's see what the difference is. Oh, they'll let you put an identifying tag on it,
Hmm.
which would cost 99 cents for the design, but they're waiving that fee right now. And then they have a premium. That's okay.
That's
So that's
pretty
supposed to
cool.
pull the material forward so it's not right on your mouth. Yeah, that's pretty cool. And I'm gonna have to print one of those.
So these
Um,
prices, Evan, so like 199 fee, I know that's waived during the preview period and everything, but is that per? So 199 per mask
yeah,
fitter?
so that'd be to get your STL, you pay 99 cents
Okay.
or 199, and I would say that goes directly through the Apple App Store to whatever payment method you have on
Yep.
file there.
Yep.
Let's go ahead and we'll do a premium. And so it'll let me put in like a name for the patient to identify it, and so I'll just put my name in and optional label. I'll just click next, and it generates this really fast. So it's like a 10-second time to generate it. And
Wow.
then if I click 3D print, that they have, I'm trying to remember who it is. R&D Technologies, let's see, and then Make Lab up in New York are their direct outsourcing partners. But you could take this STL to any, if you've got, an FDM printer at your house and print it, or if you've got, I don't know if it'll fit on a Asiga Max. I know they fit on the Asiga Pros because I've printed some of the basic ones already. But I could check that on a Max and let people know. And then I've got a couple different ways I can save it. I can email it just by going to mail, or I save it to my iCloud drive. Just hit save. And then later I can go pull it from iCloud. Now you could set up Dropbox and everything. I don't know if iCloud is HIPAA compliant. I'd have to check, or they may have a way of making it HIPAA compliant. But I know Dropbox is. So when I'm done with this, I can just hit close. That's gonna bring me back to my face. Now, if I wanna use this face scan later on, I do need to save it. So I'm gonna hit save. And here I can name the scan, but you can give it a number, like if you just had a patient reference number that, in your clinic or lab tracking software. And we can just hit save. So there doesn't have to be any identifying info in it. So from there, if I wanted to just export the face scan without doing any of the dental stuff to it, then I can hit the export. I can do export model, and I can either pick high definition or standard definition. You can conceal the eyes, and then we could pick either OBJ, POI, or STL format. If you're gonna take it into 3Shape, I recommend POI, because that way you'll still get the color. You can also do STL, but STL will have no texture or color information, so it's just gonna be the kind of beige model looking color. And then
So
OBJ right now is not supported in 3Shape. Yeah.
wasn't there a way to send it through Communicate, 3Shape Communicate?
Not the face yet, but you can you can pull your models directly from Communicate, like Trio scans.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
So if I go back, I've done my scan. Now I need to do an alignment. So I'm just going to go to just all by model name. Actually, let's do, and then up at the top, you can see I have top right, I have scan and align. If I click align, then I have three different options. I can align two different face models. I can align two different jaw models to a face model, or align a face model to a cone beam. The one we're going to do the most, especially with regards to integrating with 3Shape, is going to be the jaw model. So I'm going to click that, and you see I've got some options here for my target models. So I minimally need an upper, so I'm going to click that, and you can see I can either import from files on the iPad, from 3Shape, from the jaw library, or the sample model is one of the Bellus employees. There's a whole sample of the workflow with his scans in case you didn't have all the stuff you need with yours. So let's go to files, because I have some modified STLs on here where I actually virtually extracted one of my teeth. So I can just click upper, and you can, now you see preview, lower. And then I'm going to, on my teeth smile, I'm going to do that, and I'm going to go to the model gallery. I'm going to get the one I just did. And then it goes ahead and already does when I click next. And so here, that normal smile optional, that's where you could have a more relaxed smile. I'm going to click next. It's going to go ahead and do an initial alignment. Now you can, on this tooth section, I can hide or remove the teeth, but I can also add a second set. So I'm going to add the set of teeth off of 3Shape. So I'm going to go to 3Shape. This is going to bring up all the cases in my communicate account. I'm going to find my my trio scans and hit load both.
That's super easy.
And so basically, like if you had the STLs from a lab that had their virtual wax upon it, you could load those as the second set, and then you can show the patient, all right, here's what you look like now, or what you look like before we put temporaries in. Here's what you can look like after we do all this work. Okay. And so now I can switch between these by clicking the little eye. And so, and you can see they're in the same place because these are actually the same scans. They're sharing the same three-dimensional coordinates that all came from the original trio scan. And then what Bellus is doing, it's not changing the coordinates of the models, it's changing the coordinates of the face scan to be relative to the models. And that way, when you export Bellus, even though it's not going into Communicate, it's just going email or Dropbox. When you import it into 3Shape, it's going to be in the exact alignment that you set in this software. And you don't have to worry about, oh, I got to make sure I use the scans that came out of Bellus because they were moved. Since they're not being moved, you can import this into existing cases as long as it's the case that, you know, where these STLs came from. So if I go to the alignment, I'm going to go ahead and use this arch for the alignment just because I'm not actually missing any teeth, so they won't be missing in the scan. If I go over to, what I like to do first is go to the lip line and make sure I've adjusted that lip line cutout the way I want it before I start doing the alignment. And the way this works is basically whatever one of those control points is green, if I then tap and move my finger around in that, basically kind of like an on-screen trackpad right below the image, that's how I move those around. And then I'll just click the next one. Or you can also click the little circles right here. That moves to the next one in that direction, or backwards. And I just want to kind of put this right at the lip line to the best of my ability. All right, so I'm pretty happy with that. And I'm just gonna hit apply, and you're gonna see that's gonna change the cutout on the 3D scan up at the top. So from there, I'd go over to adjust. And this is where we've got those 2D images, which you see in these two windows. And then that kind of blue transparent image is the actual 3D model. And so on the left side, I have translation or like linear movements. And then on the right side, I have rotational movements in X, Y, and Z. So I just start kind of playing with it. You got to check both images so that you're seeing, all right, am I going the right way? Let's see if it's actually pretty close right there. But I'll show you. So you got rotational here by tapping on the plus or minus. And if you need to see the 2D teeth better, you can do that by sliding this slider. Or if you want to see the 3D teeth better, you go towards the right.
I mean, that really had that pretty
So,
close from the get-go.
yeah, well, that's one thing. If you've seen any of the other Bellus, there've been a few other webinars. They did one with 3Shape last week, I think, where Eric, who works at Bellus, he was talking about how there's been kind of requests or questions about with all the data it gets, why can it do it? Can it do it automatically? And they actually had it where they got it pretty consistent automatically, but they felt they needed to have a user controlled input method. So, you know that you're, confirming that position to the best of your ability rather than taking the word of the software. But again, technology is constantly evolving and they're always looking at new features and improvements to make, but they felt like there really should be a human input kind of method. So that's why you can see, I mean, since getting this app and then all the way to now, I can tell just, as we've gone on, I've had to make less and less, kind of adjustments after I pull it in. So another feature, you could be done here and export this and go on into your design, but they also have this guide plane option where I can, like set my midline. And you could do the inner pupillary line. And again, you have up and down, and then you can rotate. So let's do chamfer plane, about right there. You can make the occlusal plane parallel to that if you want. And then move it up. Once you're happy with those, and also like the normal, like pinch to zoom, touch and move your finger to rotate, that's all the same as it would be throughout the rest of the iOS ecosystem. So there's not a big learning curve there. So then if I want to export these planes as a reference, I can go to export down at the bottom and you can do STL or PLY. So I'll do PLY, save to files, and put it in just a demo folder. Save that.
Hey, Evan. Now, how compatible, we did have a question come in how compatible is this with Exocad? Obviously, STL is going to be fine for Exocad.
Yeah, and
Um,
I believe Exocad supports PLY. And again, so the approach that Bellus took by not moving the actual models, but moving the face relative to the models means that it's a platform agnostic solution. So it doesn't matter what, even dental wings potentially, or any CAD software for that matter. If you pull in the STLs of the mount that you used in this alignment, and then you pull in the face, no matter what software you do it in, they're going to be aligned. So the only limiting factor is whether or not your dental CAD software allows you to import additional scans beyond the working models and like wax up scans.
yeah,
Um,
I thought Exocad
I,
supported PLY files.
It probably does, and I'm sure it also supports the import of additional scans. And I know, like Eric said before, that they work with Exocad just fine.
Mhm.
But as far as like, the 3Shape communicate integration, that's specific to 3Shape. And I don't know that Exocad has any kind of communication platform like that,
Yeah,
just because
gotcha.
it's not all under one company as far
Yeah.
as like hardware and all that. Um, so from here, can save this. So under tools, I can come back here and down at the very bottom for the face model. This is what I'm going to be exporting. Again, I'm not exporting any of the STLs for the jaw surface scans. If I click the teeth down here, this is going to tell it whether I want to have the teeth removed, which typically I would say you're going to want to have the teeth removed. You can also block out the eyes, so it just covers up the eyes and the texture. Um, and then I can just hit the export button. I can do HD or standard definition. You also have a conceal eye slider here, but I'm gonna go with HD. Um, and then POI so we get the color. But you could also do STL and not need the color. And we're going to save to files. Okay, and so from that point, I'm actually done with what I'm doing in Bellus for right now. And so then those files would then go to the lab or wherever, uh, or actually, I guess if you had 3Shape in your clinic, then it can go there as well. So let
Oh,
me,
so then from here, like, so obviously we're talking about Bellus in the context of using 3Shape as your CAD software. So then from
mhm,
here, you're basically gonna, I mean that there's no alignment necessary for that scan. So let's say you're gonna be doing, social 6 anterior crowns. Um, Now, I mean, at this point, once you just go through your regular
normal, yeah.
on like normal, and it's just you're gonna have the options to toggle that on and off, and basically in real time be able to design the patient's smile on their actual facial scan, right?
hmm And so what I'm doing off screen is logging into my iCloud account. Since it's my personal one, I'm not putting that on the screen. um, Not that there's anything bad in it, but it has my personal email and all that when I log in. So then I just have a Bellus3D folder, same place where I saved that stuff, and then it should have already. Let's see. So we got yep. I have my face and guides, POYs. So I'm gonna just download them real quick, and I'll show you. You'll be able to see it when I'm importing it. And then we're gonna get those same working models. Okay. So now in 3Shape, I'm going to come in and do a new order. And let's see, I believe I removed 8 on that model. So let's say we're just going to do a temporary unprepared model, since the tooth's already missing, unsectioned. And what we need to do here is we need to add an additional scan in 3Shape up here in the top right. So if I click that, I need to extract these real quick. So I have my preparation, antagonists, and my guides. And then I also have this POI. So you can see all it gives me is Head 3D and Head 3D the texture file and Head 3D the scan file. So there's literally no patient information on that. And if I needed to be able to identify it beyond, after I import it into the scan, then I could change the name of the folder, but you don't need to change the name of the actual scans.
Just really quickly to reiterate, we did have a question come in. Just wanted to specify overall what's the best file type to save. PLY is going to be the best.
Yeah, if you're
That's what's going to that's what's going to give you the color scan.
Yeah,
that's optimal.
I'm also going to import an additional scan, and I'm going to get that guides one. Now, even though I exported that in POI, it just comes out as, I think it just saves it still with no color. I think that was something that Eric said they were going to be adding as the plain color, but don't quote me on that. And now, because I'm going to import STLs, I'm pretty much done with this order aside from picking the material. Let's say, yeah, we'll just leave it as zircon. I'll say okay. Now I'm going to import my surface scans. It wants the preparation first, then the antagonist, and now I'm ready to go. Okay, and so you can actually see all that stuff as aligned is there, including my face scan color. I've got sliders for these. And I'll just align the scan in 3Shape's coordinate plane as far as in relationship to the occlusal plane of the articulator, and later we'll fine tweak this using the face scan.
You gonna do gold on that central?
Oh yeah.
I would.
Okay. So from there, you have your standard, you sculpt on jaws. If this is an intraoral scan, you might want to do that. This has already been trimmed up in a previous case though. So I'll just go next. And next one more time. Then I need to set an annotation. I'll just put that out here. Click next. And I'm going to change my insertion direction to be kind of more with the long axis of that tooth. All right. And so now I have my ability to pick from the libraries. Now, I had mentioned earlier that they have the Fabulous Smiles in Bellus, and basically there's a book that goes along with that that has all the different teeth libraries and smile photos, and so you can have that in your clinic. I think it's either it's 100 or 200 a book. I can't remember
Yeah,
for sure.
it's kind of pricey. But it's really nice, super high
Yeah, it's a really
quality.
nice book. And so basically you have that either in the waiting room or you could have one in each operatory if you wanted to, and patients can look through it till they, find the look they like, kind of like when you get your hair cut at salons, they got the book of haircuts. It's kind of
Hmm.
like that. And then that correlates directly to um, libraries that you can show in Bellus, but also that you can pick in 3Shape. I don't have them in here because I just had to reinstall Windows on this computer last week, and I just haven't had a chance to download them. But they're really nice libraries, and that kind of gives you almost like a front end to back end anatomy solution. And there's quite a few different ones.
Nice thing about that, I mean, both for doctors and labs. I mean, that can be really helpful, not just from not just from an aesthetics perspective, but that could even potentially cut down. Like if you're doing like dentures, that could cut down. I mean, that could eliminate half of your resets. Like if
Mhm.
if the patient, anyone that works in a lab or an office that does dentures, that like there's going to be patients that they decide after, once they get the wax up, I just really don't like these teeth. It's not, they don't look they don't look like what I thought they were going to look like. And I mean, that really kind of sucks for everybody. I mean, it sucks for the doctor because there's more chair time. It sucks for the lab because it's more time. They've basically got to re-wax up, the denture or whatever, whatever they're doing. So if you can eliminate, 90% of those, that's pretty sweet. And the Fab
Yeah,
Smiles pretty much allows you to do that. The book just has like, I mean, they're all like natural photos. So it's a big difference between the patient seeing like natural photos and saying, "Oh, I really like that smile," and like looking at cards of teeth and saying, "Oh, I think I like this card of teeth." There's a huge difference there.
yeah, yeah. Um, we did have a question come in. Is this more useful for dental office or dental lab? Honestly, I can see it for both. I think full solution wise, it's probably ideal to have it in a clinic. I mean, that's where the patients come in. The patient's going to see this stuff, and if this is part of your clinical photos that you take, if you're taking like intraoral photos and that kind of stuff, well, now we're just adding a Bellus scan to it, and then that all goes to the lab. Um, Now a lab could still have it and offer it as a solution, but I think you'd probably have to have the patient come to the lab. But if you're doing custom shades and stuff like that, then that wouldn't. If you're having somebody come for a custom shade, then hey, let's add this and make sure the design is just got that extra element of you know anatomical like aesthetics. We're not designing blind or off 2D photos anymore. So either way, but I think the easiest solution is to have it as part of the clinical workflow. Um, so I think that would answer that one. We had another question. Can we superimpose facial scan data, CBCT soft tissue, and skeletal data and iOS data as one? And can the created data be exported into another software, for example, 3Shape Smile Design is? Um, So, I mean, technically you could, yes, you can do that, but
It's a lot of moving
it's a
parts.
lot of data. And so, in Bellus, when they're aligning a face scan to a cone beam, they're aligning the face scan to the soft tissue density of that cone beam. And then when they're doing the face to the jaw, there's that visual alignment to the jaw. But the missing link is getting the cone beam and jaw aligned, which you could do in third-party softwares. But and then again, when you get to dental system, you importing an STL of the skeletal information. Those again, it can be done, but those are some pretty large files. And I think unless you had a really good system, high-end hardware, then you would run into some probably memory bottlenecks.
Yeah, it's got to load all of that scan data. That's a lot.
Yeah. And then the name of that book, I think it's just the Fabulous Smiles book. Let me see.
There's a 0% chance that I can pronounce the guy's name. That
Oh,
I think it was a guy. It might have been a a lady. I'm not sure.
It's a guy in Europe.
Yeah, I think he's like somewhere in Scandinavia, I want to say.
Yeah. Let's see. So I'll pull this over here real quick. Then we'll get back to the 3Shape side. I think his name's like Przemic.
Yeah, and Kate
Yeah. Kate Brantvik and Przemic.
Brandvik and
Yeah, I'm gonna
Przemic.
butcher that, so I'm not gonna try. Yeah. But yeah, real nice book you can get here.
$250, but I mean it's if Evan just click through some of the pages so they can see like on the images.
Oh.
It's super high quality and I mean it's pretty sweet for your patients really. I mean
Yeah.
I mean they take super high
So
quality like high resolution photos
yeah.
and
it really is like one of those salon books that, from like J. Crew or
it's a really good
whatever.
idea. I mean, honestly,
Yeah.
it was a great idea, and the fact that the thing I love so much about it is the digital libraries are free. They don't cost you anything. The book
Mm-hmm.
does, but the digital libraries don't. And I think that's, I mean, good on them because they easily could have charged and made,
Yeah.
probably a lot of money off of selling the digital tooth libraries, and they chose not to. So, I mean, to me, that speaks a lot. So.
Mm-hmm.
That's just to me one more reason to buy the book, support them. I mean, I can't imagine how much time they spent putting all of this together, both and time and financial resources to put all this together. So go buy the book, support our fellow innovators. We have one more. We do have a question. Um, will you be doing a denture with Bellus webinar? Yeah, that's a pretty good idea. There's going to be some differences if you want to start doing dentures. Obviously, if the patient's edentulous, there's nothing here to align, to scan. So it is going to be a different process. Evan, what do you think? Do you think we could maybe put one of those together?
Yeah, that's something initially they they didn't have a workflow for, but I think they do now, and I've got to do a little bit more follow up on that to see yeah, how they're doing it, whether it's from using existing dentures or some other method of
These wax
capturing
rims.
that
Wax rims with
information.
geographical landmarks on it.
Yeah. So, but I was in that webinar last week with Eric and with 3Shape, and I believe they touched on that. But I was doing two things at once, so I'm gonna have to follow up with them a little bit more to see if they've got an official workflow for it.
Yep.
All right, so back in 3Shape, we could use whatever library we want. I'm gonna copy my other centrals, so copy from scan. I'm just gonna click number 8 and then number 9. Make sure that spline line's where I want it, and double click. That's gonna mirror it. I'll go back to my individual transform tool. And now if I want, I can bring in my face scan. Oh, that's the guides.
That's so cool. I mean, it's awesome to be able to design these really like just in real time, you know, like in with 3D
With your
facial scanning. I
guide
mean, that's
planes, we can check
super
our
cool.
midline from the original. Single like this, you might not worry too much about position in the virtual articulator. But if you're doing, full arch, then you're going to want to use that. So if I bring in the articulator and we switch it to the best articulator around,
Bam.
then, so then I can bring kind of halfway fade in my face and use reference points, make it a little bit more opaque for positioning of the condyles. So
So a question came in, are we doing all these procedures in the Bellus app? So no, this is in 3Shape at this point.
yeah.
So we took all of our scan data out of Bellus, we imported it into 3Shape, and now we're doing our actual design in 3Shape.
And then if you want to, if you use a reference plane like the Frankfurt horizontal plane for your third point on the articulator, you can see that gives me a incisal rotation, and rather than what I had before, which was going to be flat plane occlusion on this center line, which we know pretty much nobody has. Now I have more of that cant that you would see on like a face bow mounting. And so from there, you would set your Bennett and condylar inclinations right here. And then I can actually go through excursive movements. Now it doesn't animate the face, maybe in the future.
That would be sweet. That would
Yeah.
be sweet if it actually animated the jaw, like a facial scan of the jaw. That'd be cool.
And if I hide my lower model, this little, what looks like a compass right here, if I click that, that gives me what's called the occlusal compass. And I can actually see, you know, put a color coding to whether it's red would be centric stops, black is protrusive interference or guidance, depending on what you're designing in. And then blue and green are medial and lateral intrusive interferences. And from there, you can keep going with your design.
Beautiful, beautiful.
And last thing we do is a headstand.
Yeah, what's the neck? What does the neck look like? Like, does it hollow the whole thing out?
It does, yeah.
Okay, and that's what it exports out of Bellus.
Yep. Unless you do the full head scan, and then it will approximate the back and give you a watertight model.
You do realize I'm going to steal this file and I'm going to 3D print your face.
Oh yeah.
I'm going to 3D
You got to make
print
little
your head.
bobbleheads. Shrink down the head.
Custom. You know, that's maybe not a bad new business idea. Use Bellus3D and start making custom bobbleheads.
Bobbleheads.
I'm calling it right now. If anybody takes that, look out! I'm coming for you, because that's gonna be my ticket to millions right there. Custom bobbleheads.
Yeah, we printed we were doing a custom mask competition, and we were thinking about using Bellus as one, but we were trying to fit the company NIOSH that does all the approvals for these N95 filters. They have different head CAD files, and so we took one of those and printed it out. It was kind of, I held it in front of my face and used Bellus to scan it, and it had this weird, it looks like something out of Dark Souls.
Wow, that's cool.
But so I mean, that's basically the workflow. Of course, if you were doing a bigger case, then this would be more 3Shape work, but not any more Bellus work necessarily. And so from here, what I can do in 3Shape is I can copy and append CAD design to preparation scan, and that'll merge these two. Now in the new model builder software, then if I were to, if I'm working on an intraoral scan and gonna make a printed model, even if you're not going to print it, that would still, in the new model builder software, they have the ability right at model builder to append the designs and then give you that resulting model. and then those could be imported back into that workspace and shown to the patient
Super
or the
easy
doctor.
workflow right there. Super
Yep.
easy. On that note, you know, I think we're kind of getting ready to wrap it up.
Mhm.
So Evan mentioned the new model builder software. So a webinar that any 3Shape user doesn't want to miss is going to be this Friday. So it's going to be myself and is it you or Corey that's going to be in that? I think it's Corey. So I think it's going to be,
I think
I
it's
can't
me
remember.
actually.
Oh,
I
is
think it's
it?
gonna be me
Okay.
and
Or maybe,
Brandon. Yeah.
okay. So Evan and I are going to be joined by Brandon Smith from 3Shape. A lot of you guys probably already know Brandon. He's been doing some webinars with us.
Yep.
Um, and we're going to be going over the new 2020 features in the new 3Shape release. So I will say, without giving too much away because I want you to attend, there are some really awesome new features coming in 2020 that you do not want to miss.
Yep.
And that's going to be dropping really soon. 3Shape's getting ready to drop that. So don't miss that webinar. It's going to be really fun and informative. If anybody has any last minute questions, go ahead and get those in before we wrap this bad boy up. And again, you can see on Evan's screen, this was recorded, is being recorded. So if you want to go back and watch any of this, show it to whoever, feel free. Just go back to the webpage where you registered, and then probably I would say tomorrow we'll have it up and ready for your viewing pleasure. So feel free to check that out. Otherwise, you know, I just want to say thank you to everybody for joining us today. This was a lot of fun. You know, honestly, Evan, I learned a lot from this too. I haven't had a whole lot of time to really sit down and dive into Bellus. So this was, you know, I think pretty awesome for me as well.
Yep.
Anything to add, Evan?
No, I think I guess the only thing we don't talk too much about sales stuff. If you want to do an annual subscription, that goes through resellers. So we're a reseller for the U.S. And that would be I believe it's 800 for a year.
Cool. Awesome. Well, thank you, everybody. We appreciate everybody joining us, and hopefully
Yep.
we will talk to everyone on Friday. Hope everybody has a great rest of their hump day, great rest of the week. Stay productive, stay safe, and we will talk to you on Friday.
Yep. See you then.